Hello and welcome. My name is Fiona Wedderburn-Graham and I'm a director of Amaze Associates, a coaching company.
And I'm Jennifer McLean and I work with Fiona as a director as well, and we're a coaching company.
This is Take the Lead and we will be discussing all things pertaining to career and leadership. So,
how's your week been, Fee?
Well, actually, Jennifer, the week has been pretty intense. I've spent a lot of time preparing for this. I like to know what I'm doing when I'm doing something, especially if it's, kind of newish. So yeah, it's been quite intense getting ready, but I think we're there and I'm excited actually.
Yes,
looking forward. Yeah.
So am I. I'm looking forward to 2023.
Yeah, bring it on, 2023.
Making sure people are coming into it with a great deal of positivity.
And ready to go and do whatever it is they need to do. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so today, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we want to start with offering some support to those who've just landed their first job as a manager.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so why? So first of all, we have to say well done to those who've landed their first jobs. Yeah, give them a little clap. Yes, sir. So becoming a manager, it can be really exciting and also great milestones in anyone's career.
Absolutely.
But also, do you remember when
I
you
do.
became first
I do
manager?
remember. What I remember is, oh no, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Especially when it comes to the first team meeting. I'm like, all these people are sitting there looking at you thinking, she's going to tell us what to do. Well,
I remember feeling a bit terrified, thrown in at the deep end. My first management role, thinking, oh my God, I sashayed in with my lovely suit.
Yeah, I remember that suit.
And that wasn't going to be the end of it. Like you say, all the faces facing you. And I wanted to make my mark. Did you?
Yeah, I suppose I did actually, but I probably was so focused on just trying to make sure that I knew what I was doing. I probably didn't even think about it that way. But yeah, that is, you do want to do a good job, I think. That's why I wanted to get things right. I knew that I had to not only do the job of work that we were there to do, but also to look after my staff and make sure I knew what was going on with them and, make sure that they were okay so they could do the work. So yeah, it was a kind of two-pronged.
I think sometimes we forget what it's like to, to start as a new manager. Yeah. So we kind of talked about putting together some tips for people who are just venturing into their first management role and what, to set the tone, for that positive day, start off positive. So I want to talk a bit more about, before we get into that, we're not going to lose sight of, people who have kind of just been promoted into a manager role, because, or people who have just come in as a newbie, and also those people that end up managing people that they used to be their peers.
That can be
a difficult conundrum.
Definitely.
So there might even be another twist as well now, especially since COVID and changes the way that work is being. There's a lot of remote working going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
How on earth do you manage your
staff?
staff?
How do you? That's a really good question, because it's all right when your staff are right there in front of you all the time, but when they're not, and you don't necessarily see them. I don't even know how often. Like, people are in once a week, twice a week, if you're lucky, maybe not at all. That means you need to, as the manager, make extra efforts to maintain that contact with them and that communication with them, definitely.
There's another twist about with everything coming at you quick and fast as a manager, and your diary getting filled up really quickly, emails pinging in even before you can even sip your coffee. Goodness sake, that's always really hard. And you think, I used to sit down thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I've worked out, through experience, of course, there's some steps that people should take.
What steps? What are they?
Well, what was important to me was not losing focus. Right? And get subsumed and overwhelmed with everything that was coming at me. And I think one of the first things I thought about doing was I had to get organised.
Yes.
I know you might say I'm a really organised person.
Yes, you are. You know you are. So I don't know why you're saying it like that. You are organised, but yes, you're right.
I wasn't always.
Okay.
I really wasn't always. But what I realised is I had to get my head straight.
Right.
I had to really think through how I was going to operate at work. What did I need to do? At the time I wasn't thinking all of this. It's like, as you become better at being a manager and get a bit more comfortable in your role, you realise actually you've taken some really good steps. So one of the things that was about getting organised my thoughts before I even made any decisions.
Right, that's a good point.
Because don't you think that sometimes when you're in a new manager role, you want to prove yourself so much, you want to dash in and make those changes.
Yes, and when those situations occur, when you're like, you just jump in and say something before you've even had time to think about it, because you think that actually that's what managers do, right? They need to make a decision, so you feel like you need to do it right now.
Well, that's it.
But you're right, as you go along, you learn that it's all right to stop and take a breath, and it's all right to say, you know, I'm not sure about that, but I'll get back to you. That's the phrase.
That was always a go-to for
phrase,
us. Never, because you don't have to know all the answers.
Not right there and then, exactly.
But I want to tell you a bit about steps I took, right? So, you know, I set up some meetings initially, which was actually really set the baseline for me, you know, becoming a good leader, a good manager. And so, so why did I do that? Well, I was now responsible for productivity, for budgets, for a team, for people. Wow. The weight of that.
That's a lot.
You know, can be
a lot of hats there. Yeah.
So I thought, you know, I want to get a clear understanding. Yes, I had my JD, I had all those things, but I really want to get a clear understanding about the focus of my department. Right. Yeah. And the expectations that my role, you know, was supposed to fulfill, and that of the team that I was managing as well. So the key things that I wanted to know first and foremost was, you know, how was I going to accomplish these goals? You know.
So how did you go about that?
Well, Fiona, I had to sit down, set some meetings up, sit down with my manager. Okay. Was the first meeting I actually had. The reason why I did that was because I now had responsibility for my team's productivity, results of my team, and obviously myself. Yeah. And sitting down with my manager, I wanted to gain a clear understanding about the focus of my work area, my department, and what the expectations that he had for my role.
Because you had a lot of hats, you had a lot of different things to
it's quite a few, you know, different team players doing different projects. So I really wanted to get clear about that. And I wanted to really understand also from his perspective what goals and objectives that he expected me and my team to actually achieve. And also how was we being monitored, how we were being measured in terms of our
people looking
performance.
At what the expectations and that sort of thing.
And also, importantly, how was that going to be reported as well? So I wanted, having that discussion was a real opportunity to really get a clear picture, as I said, of all the key projects, who was leading them, because I didn't know. I was a new manager, you know, and sometimes if you're not a new manager and you're coming into somewhere where you already know, it's still really important, I think, to find out. That's right. Because the landscape could have changed.
Absolutely. It's really about finding out where does your department or section sit in the whole organisation, and what are you producing and providing for the whole big picture of what they're doing.
I'm really glad you said that, because I thought, you know, how you contribute, how you as a person, how your team contributes to the whole, you know, direction of the department, also the company, is really important, crucial for you to know where you fit. And so sitting down with your manager, I thought that was the best thing I could have done for myself.
And something not to be scared of as well, isn't it? You should go to your manager, because yes, you are a manager and you're managing your team, but also you have a manager, so they need to manage you and support you and guide you and all of those things.
And not to be really frightened of asking.
Absolutely.
Asking for that
support. Avoid going to the manager.
I mean, you know, back in those days for us, it was like, oh God, talking to your manager was a bit of a scary thing. But I think now, it's a sign of strength. Absolutely. You know, because you want to do a good job. Right. And you also, this is the way of managing upwards, as we always say to our coaches. If you're managing upwards, ask the right questions. So you actually come away feeling, actually now, I have a sense of the landscape that I'm in. I know what my team in the round are actually doing. But I dug a bit deeper.
So what were the key things then? What were the key things?
The key things I wanted to know was, you know, after meeting the manager, obviously what the team was supposed to be doing, what the expectations for the team. But then I went to meet the HR. You know, my HR business partner, fabulous.
And normally you only go to HR if you've got a problem or you want to know how does this happen or can they take that time off or whatever.
Yeah,
but obviously there was a bigger picture that you were looking at.
Yeah, but I think when you go to a HR manager towards that, when things are hit the buffers, it's not really. It's good, but I think you could do that beforehand.
Right.
So you get a lay off the land in terms of you find out who are your staff. You know, you get a sense of your team structure. You can find their job descriptions.
Right.
You can find out if there are any kind of disciplinary things going on, or any other
which they failed to let you know about.
Exactly, and you know, and also have a look at like previous self-evaluations, and performance appraisals, and all of those kind of. You can have a pre-look at all of those things. You're developing a picture of your team. You're not making assumptions, but you're getting information.
That's a really good
about
point,
your
actually.
team.
That's
beforehand.
a really good idea.
And you know, because I remember being in the job where literally on my first day, no word of a lie, we just got it dumped. No. This person was in a disciplinary unit.
Oh my gosh.
So, you got dumped from a great height.
That is one of the most stressful things, disciplinaries,
And I didn't know this
And
person.
you don't even know who they are.
And to be honest, that person, when I spoke to her about, performance and sickness levels and things like that, we worked it through. So I'm not sure what they were doing before, but dumping on you is not a good thing. So
no, it isn't. It isn't, because that means whoever was in that post previously just had not done what they were supposed to do.
Exactly, they didn't.
Yeah.
And they waited for the new person to come along.
Say, they can sort it out.
Yeah, so let's ditch that problem, wait for the next person to come along. So meeting a HR person was, I think, really crucial. And what I also learned was really valuable is find out what the HR policies were
what they actually
before you need to really use them. And it's not just about disciplinary and grievance. No. It's about time off, for certain things, family issues. It's about how much annual leave people are entitled to. It's about the ways that the organisation does things around managing people and managing those kind of resources. So that was my second step. So meet my manager, meet my HR business partner. The third step I took was...
Yes, who was next on the hit list? Who was it?
This one was a toughie for me because I tell you, I had to meet with the finance person. That person...
Don't talk to me about numbers.
Exactly. So this was my first foray into managing, right? And apart from the suit and everything, knew nothing about budgeting. No. So I met with the finance person because I really wanted to understand what my responsibility. I now have managed the budgets. Oh my God, I had to manage budget. It was a scary thing.
It's scary.
And I really, I'm kind of that kind of person. Kind of want to get in the skin of stuff. I don't want to actually do it. Like the nitty gritty, because as a manager you kind of have to move away from that a little bit. But I really
you want to understand. Yes.
And speaking to finance is a great way to actually, the person I spoke with, fabulous man.
Oh.
He was like, you actually come to speak to me about this.
I bet he was shocked. I bet no one's ever done that before.
And he took me through, he showed me what budgets I was responsible for. He took me through my budget lines and said, this is what you're responsible for. He took me through the reporting cycles. He let me get me to understand, things like if your budget's over or under, and how to read the budgets, and when to submit my returns, and also to forecast as well what the team are going to spend over the next quarter and also to the end of the year. So it was a really good, and what I also did, he became my buddy anyway, you need people like that on your side, but also what was good was that we set up monthly one-to-one meetings just to go over
just to make sure
the budget, to make sure.
That is invaluable. That really is, especially even if you've done it before. I think it's still useful, but if you're just starting, that's such a good tip. So
for me, the manager, speaking to our manager, speaking with HR, speaking with finance, amazing
that's fantastic.
Discussions. They were always easy discussions, and it brought up my own kind of gaps in my knowledge. It brings you
face to face with the things that you're kind of about.
But my biggest challenge was to come.
What was that? What was the next stop? What was the next?
My biggest challenge after that was really talking to my staff.
Can't really forget them, can you? I mean, really.
So I had a fairly decent sized team. So what I decided to do, let me chop it into two halves.
Okay.
So I thought, let me talk to my direct reports first. I really wanted to get to know them. And this is about me being authentic and genuine, really being open, talking to them about what's going on for them in the department that we're in.
Yeah.
And what I didn't just meet them as a group. I did a one-to-one first with each.
How did they feel about that? Were they a bit like, oh, why does she want to talk to me?
There's discomfort. There is discomfort on both sides because you don't know.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know these individuals. They may have gone for the job and not got it. So there's a bit of kind of like distrust or I know more than you do. And clearly they did because they were there and I just came.
You just came.
But regardless of being a newbie or not, it's still a good step to take.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, because you might even be managing people you managed before, but still go through this step. I thought, go through this step, meet people on a one-to-one basis, you get to know them better.
Absolutely, that's a really good idea. Actually,
and I could also reflect on my meeting with the HR person.
Because you had some bit of background there,
so it kind of feeds into that. So some people ask me, "Oh, well, Jennifer, why didn't you just meet your staff first?" Yeah, you do that courtesy, hello and stuff and handshaking in the first few days. But when you're getting down to business, do your one-to-ones with your stuff. Get to know who they are. Get to know what projects they're leading on. Get to know what their concerns are, what their challenges are,
and also what is it they might be trying to aim for as well.
Because I'm also interested in learning development. As
their development, absolutely.
We run a coaching company. We are.
Thank goodness.
But what was fundamental to me was actually really understanding what drives them.
Yes.
What motivated them, and also what irritated them as well. And also, they're the ones that are going to give you the things that need to change.
You need them. So but that must have taken a long time, though.
It is time consuming, and it takes a long time to plan these things with people because people's diaries don't correlate with yours often, and sometimes they're busy doing other things, and you can't just wait and say I want to meet you now. So I just scheduled all of those one-to-ones and took my time. Meanwhile, what goes on in the background, we all know that, but this is part of my plan, really, because I really wanted to see if there are any changes that needed to be made within my team, my service area. And these are the very people that are going to tell me that. So next stop was really talking to the rest of the team. Right. So what I did it at a mini away day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it was the best way to meet.
Just take out of the work situation. And sort of let people relax a bit.
Relax a bit. And what I did, which I think they fed back after, the feedback now, was I met with them as a group, introduced myself, talked a bit about myself. Sure, I shared a bit of personal stuff, little tiny tidbits, not everything, but you don't want to overshare, but just to show a bit of openness. So I did that, but also I gave an opportunity to ask questions without me being there. Right. So I said, look, you've got 10-15 minutes, to put notes on the board of questions you want to ask, of me.
So no one had to take ownership of any of those
questions. And they didn't have me in the room, kind of stifling debates. And I left the room and said, when you're ready, call me back. And what I'll do, my very best, is to answer your questions. There will be questions, however, that I can't answer. Because maybe I just haven't got enough knowledge base, or I don't want to answer those questions. But it was a good way to really get to know them, to get to know me, and me to get to know them. Right. And also to eke out what were the challenges that we're facing, what were the great stuff they were doing, and champion those, and what the stuff that they really found difficult in terms of their day-to-day work as well. So
that's such a useful process, even though clearly it takes a lot of time and planning, like you said.
It does.
It's definitely a useful process, I think.
I just think that people don't give enough time to meet the team. And one, there's one bit of experience I had where I saw someone do this. This is obviously later in my career, and this person came in as a CEO, and I was so struck by how he did this. Came in, hadn't even met the previous CEO, could just about identify them from a photograph, and that person came in and literally came to my department, asked to meet with me.
Okay.
Then we went to theatre.
Oh wow!
Meet the whole company.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to talk through
That's
that
amazing.
personal touch.
Yeah.
It sends a message of you being genuine, being sincere, and actually wanting the best of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what was even more edifying was that they knew about your business, the business that you were delivering.
Yeah.
They had an understanding.
So they didn't come in cold.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were able to talk to you, and it felt
fantastic.
really good. And I thought back of when I was tripping over doing all those things way back, thinking, that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing. And to see a CEO do that it lays down the gauntlet, I think, to other CEOs, other directors, other leaders.
Yeah, show your face,
yes.
right? Don't just be a name on a sheet or something.
Don't be visible.
Yeah, show your face and show. You're saying that we're the business and you're leading us in that business, so lead them.
Yeah, and also staff want to know who you are.
They do.
But they also want to feel that they're not invisible either.
Right.
Right.
We're not just the little workers sitting there beavering away. Yeah, right.
There's this thing, we hear it all the time now. I want to be heard. I want to be seen. This is the way to do it.
This is the way to do it.
As a leader, this is the way to do it. Yeah. Yes, you can't be there all the time, but if you start off on that good foot, trust me.
I think it must pay back.
It does.
Dividends in
it
just
does.
can't.
It
must. Obviously, their time is precious and they have a lot of things to do. Well, everybody's, their diaries are full, but that time taken, the payback for that has got to be overwhelming.
And it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're she's friendly and she's available. It means that she doesn't know her stuff. Listen, I knew my stuff. And if there were difficult challenges that came up, difficult decisions I had to make, I now had a sort of baseline that I can justify those decisions. I could do that. Final thing I did though.
Final thing.
Part of my cunning plan was learn about the systems and processes and tools that my team were using.
Okay.
And again, because I had all those conversations, I could see where there might have been flaws and gaps.
Right, okay.
Because, to increase productivity and effectiveness of my team, I was really looking at, actually, you know what? That system needs to be somehow tweaked a little bit. Because that's labour intensive. Or there's duplication, job duplication.
And these are probably all the things that the team know already and they're complaining about, but no one's actually taken the time to look at it and identify those areas.
Yeah. And when you kind of bottle that all up and say, okay, now I have that baseline, as I said, you can then start writing a departmental plan or strategic plan for your part of the service based on your evidence.
Wow, that's
and then you bring people along, because you then have further meetings that talk to what your plans are, and because you've done all this data gathering already, and you've had those conversations, and you'll keep having those conversations, because that's the biggest bugbear in business, whether it's local authority, public sector workers, or private sector, is lack of clear communication.
Yeah, people don't know what's going on, and it's frustrating for them. And, it's harder for them. Then it's harder to work in that kind of vacuum when you don't really understand. So it's time well spent, definitely. That's amazing, to be honest. I think those processes, if you're a new manager out there, I think you'll definitely be able to get something from all of this. And it might seem scary, but I think we've probably got, Jennifer, some takeaways maybe?
We have some takeaways. So first I'd say, get organised. Start thinking about what you want to do, what you'd like to do, but don't take any action just yet.
Right, yes.
Then have your meetings. Meet with your manager, manage upwards.
Manage upwards.
Okay, right. Find out, from them, what it is that you're expected to achieve.
Yeah.
It might sound like a silly question. They might think, well, you should know all this already. Actually, if they say that to you, then they really don't.
I was going to say, they probably don't know either. Absolutely. No question is a silly question.
That's right.
It might seem obvious,
Yeah.
but it's better to get it clear at the beginning than to make assumptions.
Yeah. What are the expectations of your team, yourself, etc.? And if you can't find it out from that person, you need to go elsewhere.
Right.
You might need to go a step above.
Up,
Unfortunately, sometimes you have to actually do that. Also, let me plug in a little bit here. Get hold of your company's corporate plan, strategic plan, or whatever they want to call it, service plan. Read it.
Right.
You know, the things that I find that I've experienced in management, people don't read.
Yeah.
You know, they just skim over.
That's true. I'm probably a bit guilty of that, to be honest. Yeah.
We all are, because sometimes when
it's time as well, isn't it? And,
meet with the HR business partner, human resources, or personnel, whatever the new wording is for these wonderful people that work in our human resources teams. Find out about your team. You know, find out about their learning development plans, their performance reviews. Find out if there are any disciplinary issues or any other issues that they are able to share with you.
Right.
All right, you can't share everything.
Not everything, obviously. Yeah.
And find out about you know, what career paths they are.
Right.
The grades of your staff. Yeah. Because you might decide you want to do some kind of change process. You may want to do a restructure.
Right.
Who knows? But if you have this information, you can actually use that to feed into any of those changes you want to do.
Right.
And the finance. Speak
Don't be scared. Or be scared, but do it anyway.
I would say take a deep breath and take a deep dive.
Take a deep dive. I like that. Take a deep breath and take a deep dive. Absolutely.
And speak to finance. They will give you everything you need around your budgets. And then learn about those processes, systems and processes that your staff are using. And finally, speak to your direct reports, if you've got so many of them, and speak to your team as a whole.
Speak to your team.
Now, I'll add a caveat in here. You might be managing teams remotely.
Very true.
So you might find really creative ways to use Microsoft Teams or Zooms or however you communicate with your staff. You know, use that really productively. You've got whiteboards, you've got polls,
there's so many
you've got
things.
breakout rooms. You've got all sorts of really creative ways.
You can make it work for you, can't you? You can.
Yeah.
There's some clear steps here that, you know, even if you're not sure about the steps, just take them, do that work, and slowly but surely you will gain your confidence, because you understand knowledge is power, isn't it? You will understand what it is you're supposed to be doing and how it needs to be done. Yeah.
And actually that's how you make your mark.
Yeah,
at the
right.
end of the day.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And don't just wade in and try to be the big I am. Have some humility.
Right, humility, indeed.
But also,
yes. And are we going to be talking about that?
I think we are.
Next time in one of our podcasts.
Next time.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have all found that really useful. Let us know. Our website, amazeassociates.com, or our socials at Amaze Associates.
And take the lead.
Take the lead.